Okay, it's time for the second half of the Void, where the bulk of the boss rush happens, pretty much. Safety save is highly recommended here. This is your last chance until the final confrontation with X3. Now, out here, I want to present to you our good friend Omega, the super boss of the game. You can engage in battle and you will most certainly die, because we are not properly equipped to handle him. Although we do have combined, but that is mostly something you prefer for marathons. You cannot escape from Omega, that's why we have to dodge him. And I just want you to pay attention to the fact that he was shuffling up and down for a long period before moving around. So we want to capitalize off of this initial behavior before going for the dodge. So, leaving the room, we press B and just do the movement on the lower platform. Also for a couple extra steps, you just want to go below Omega. But this way you always give your back and you should never engage him. The worst thing you can do here is panic, because that will give a chance for Omega to break his movement and follow you around. Now, before the actual second boss of the Void, we need to do some step management. Here I present to you a technique called a loop. That is one loop. We need to do 3 more, so 4 loops total on this little cavern. 2, 3, 4, and now we exit to refresh the danger rate. We do another loop on this platform, and 1 more loop before advancing. That way we eliminate 3 encounters, so the bridge segment will be smooth sailing from here. Now we have the second boss, Apanda. People love doing panda jokes on him, and I don't blame them, it's for good reason. Now, the peculiarity with Apanda is that he counters. He can counter physical damage with Drain, which bypasses our guard tank setup. We are only equipped to handle physical attacks and nothing else, so we have to crowd control him. Now, we're going to buff Lena once to give her a head start on levels, and then do a buff on Apanda. Mix Revivify plus Turtle Shell. This results in Bacchus Wine, which is a watered down version of Kiss of Blessing that only adds Berserk on a target. And now, because he's Berserk, he can only attack, he cannot counter either, and we just massacre him with Guiltos afterwards. Buff Lena a couple more times. If you don't have the Turtle Shell for whatever reason, you have to use Keys of Blessing instead. And the issue with this is that it also adds haste on Apanda. It is a drawback, and you will have to revive Kara more frequently to make up for the fact that there is a higher number of attacks. But we do want to revive Kara, so she can shield us for 1 last attack. If our party were a little bit faster, we wouldn't need to do that revive, but the setup unfortunately didn't lend itself to make that happen. It's one of the disadvantages of this job alignment. But Apanda is easy, much like Biblos. He behaves almost identically to him. Okay, that's that for the library. And now we have the sky bridges, but thanks to the step route we only have a couple encounters happen here, and this area is gigantic. There are no ways that lend itself to refresh the danger rate, so the only thing we can do is prepare a bunch of steps ahead of time to dodge encounters instead. But a couple is very good. Okay, press A before the door to open it, and now we have the castle area. There is a bunch of branches and you can collect treasure. I just want to show you one. This is a detour, but I am showing you this just in case. Here you can find running shoes, but we don't need them because until the final boss we only need 3 party members to perform boss kills, and we already have enough running shoes for that. So that's mostly something you use on glitchless runs where you cannot dupe money like crazy. We just want to go to the basement for the prison cells, and when you are ready, you talk with Catastroph here to start the boss. Now, this guy is thing is that he loves spamming Earthquake, so he's constantly checking for the party for float status, and if somebody is floating, he will ground them with a spell. So this is why we set up a float ahead of time, so that we can focus on buffing and not having to dodge his Earthquakes by casting float right now. Because we need exactly 4 Dragon Powers to buff Lena to max level so that she hits the damage cap. And coincidentally, Catastroph is health is 19,998 health, which is a couple guild tosses when hitting max damage. But with float status, we don't have to worry about Catastrophe murdering us. If you don't have float, you need to cast that instead. Your survival is top priority because Catastrophe can use Air Shaker and just murder you. Impossible to tank out, even if we tried. So we need to abuse the AI and have him do things done to murder the party instead. But now Lena picks up Combine. There's no need to change her yet though. And get a little smooch for all troubles, thank you very much. Bunch of rooms, but we don't do any step management. Here, the trees are a little misleading. You can go behind them to save some steps, and you want 6 steps before entering the throne room. And now you want to go to this tile, because when you enter that passage, you get dragged around, and going to the upper tile is a little bit faster, because you only go slower one tile less. And now a slight modification to setup. We want another Guiltos user, so we will have a Faris take care of that for us, optimize for all the same equipment, and have a Halicarnasos appear. All the bosses in the void have some quirk, but you might notice that we are cheesing them one way or another. And it's all the same for Halicarnasos here. Okay. Halicarnasos' thing is that he is a king, loves spamming the Toad status. The opening round he uses Kurururu, which inflicts Toad on the entire party, and usually this would be detrimental, but Guiltos' formula doesn't depend on that at all. You just can keep attacking with Guiltos even if you are Toaded. Toad mostly disables your physical damage, it makes you attack really weakly, it prevents you from casting any spells but Toad. But Guiltos still functions adequately even with that status. So Halicarnasos doesn't have a whole bunch of defense. You don't need a lot of dragon powers to reach a sufficient amount of offense. So we're also going to buff up Faris as well, so she can hit nearly 9,000 damage. And I want to Guiltos again, please, thank you. I'm getting my inputs a little mixed up here. Easy boss otherwise. Halicarnasos can also counter summons with a really strong physical attack, but Guiltos is just physical damage, so nothing comes out of that. Now, after that battle, we need to change Faris once again. We want to set up a hide on her and optimize. Now, even outside of a step route, you don't need escape, because if you are alone and you hide, you immediately escape from a random encounter, so you can just hide Faris and wait for the others to die to ensure your safety. And now we have Twin Tania, probably the hardest boss of the void, but we have a cheese in our cars. We're going to hide Faris, and the thing about Twin Tania is that she has 50 grand health, it's an insane amount. And constantly spams these AoE techs. If you hit her physically, she may counter with another physical attack. She counters with Tidal Wave, I don't know, something crazy. But here you need to count. Notice those ineffective messages? We need to count up to 4 times, right here. So, cumulatively, with the opening round and any other attacks, plus the ineffectives, we need to count up to 4 and have Faris on hide. And now you're going to press down and hold A, because High Potion should be on the first slot, and it's going to redirect towards Faris, because she's the only alive party member here. And it doesn't matter if you block Wind Slash, you High Potion specifically to survive that. But it is really important that you perform some sort of animation before the dead potion happens, because the thing about Twin Tania is that after defending a couple times, notice here that the ATBs halt. This is because another Twin Tania unhided itself that has a totally different range of weaknesses and is vulnerable to insta-nets. So we're going to cheese this phase with Phoenix Down plus Dark Matter. Even though the Giga Flare message didn't pop up, we can already kill Twin Tania because the phase change already happened. You can tell that it's the case because the ATBs halted for no reason, but that's because the next Twin Tania appeared. And we can just cheese her up with Death Potion, and that's it. If you don't let an animation happen, whether it is Wind Slash or High Potion, then you're going to softlock the game instead. You get a crash, so that's why the battle is routed that way. Hide is just weird when ineffectives happen. I won't dwell on it too much, but suffice to say is that it breaks memory addresses and it softlocks the game. If you mix that potion while letting nothing else happen, if you want to be cheeky and dodge the Wind Slash, because you might be asking, oh, why do we do that? The final boss is nigh. After doing Tania, we want to be at 89 tall steps.